Welcome, everybody. It's me again, Bhairav Patel, Managing Director of Atom CTO. And today I'm here with Pankaj Patel. Say hello, Pankaj.
Hello, this is
Right.
Pankaj. So,
So, in this podcast, we're going to be talking about a number of different things. So, Pankaj has been for 20 odd years in, or more than that, I would guess, in property. He's also someone who, during that period, kind of lost it all and then brought himself back up from that failure. During that time, he also suffered a stroke. So again, bringing himself back up from that, and now he's launching another new business after kind of bringing himself back out, launching a second business, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But before we get into it, I guess before we get into the main conversation, it would be good to explain to the listeners that you, obviously, as I said, suffered a stroke, and now you have aphasia. So do you want to quickly explain what that is to people?
yeah, I started my business 21 years ago. I've had done many businesses of my time, but 10 years ago, I had a stroke and leave the right hand side of my body paralyzed. Now I can has recovered a little bit, so that's a good thing. But one thing that when I speak, I have something called aphasia, and I know what I want to say and how I want to say it. So the brain's working, that aspect is working well, but the only thing is I can't speak articulately the way people can understand very clearly. I apologize for that in advance.
No apologies, really, but it's good that people know up front. So that's all good. So as you said, you've started many businesses. Can you take us back a little bit of how you actually got into starting your own business? You mentioned, for those who've listened to the trailer, that the age of 32, was it, that you decided to go out on your own? What were you doing before that, and what was that point in time where you realized that you want to stop working for somebody else and start working for yourself?
I was an electronics engineer, telecommunications engineer, MRI engineer, and become a consultant as well. So in my work side, I was doing very, very well. But having said that, at the age of 22, 23, I knew that I need to do something for myself. Yeah. So we started with going around pubs and selling samosas and things like that. And then the Pankaj Patel, computer engineer, and doing installing house alarms and many things. Some that didn't really work, some that did work. But the point is, I knew that I need to go into business. Back then, I was looking for a mentor or someone that's has got experience in business that I can turn to other friends and their relatives. And at that time, there wasn't so many options, not like now. Yeah. Now, when it came to 32 years old, I was married, had two kids, had quite a mortgage, and had to make a decision. I didn't want to be 65 years old in the future and look back on my life and say, I could have been this, I could have been that. And I took the plunge, and luckily my wife supported me, and we went for it. That was the age of 32. At the age of 35, I lost everything. Yeah.
So before you kind of go into that, how did you lose everything before you move on from that?
Yeah. So at the age of 32, I started the early version of FlexiStay called Croydon Service Apartments. And I had my first property, which are two-bedroom flat, I converted into three bedrooms and rented them individually.
So before you get into that bit, let's take another step back.
Yeah.
If you're an engineer that you were dealing with, you're an engineer and a consultant,
Yeah.
how did you decide to deal with property?
I was looking at all options, yeah, but within the engineering field, I couldn't see anything that I was sufficiently suitable for making a business.
Right.
Yeah, So therefore, even though I had all the knowledge and experience and many years, I was open to doing anything. Yeah.
So then you decided that, okay, I'm from scratch. I'm going to start a business that essentially takes an apartment, renovates it, and then rents it out, right?
No, that
No.
it's a little bit different. When I used to work for a company called Philips, I used to have to go trainings in Eindhoven in Holland. The company would allow us to stay in a hotel or service apartments, and service apartments is where I used to go, and a lot of the international people used to go as opposed to hotel. And I really like the concept behind it. Short term cleaners, having your own space, being able to cook your own food. I like that. So I put a mental note in there that one day it's very good. Yeah. And then when I managed to buy a investment property, then I decided it's a 2-bedroom flat. If I rented it like everyone else, I will just be able to pay the mortgage. And I thought, no, if I do it this way and just, make it nice, put en suites in every room, and rent them individually with individual locks and everything, and supply the cleaner, yeah, then I think I could make a profit, and I did, yeah, and
Makes
that done
sense.
well, yeah. And I done the second one and the third one, then I stopped because I could see there's a business there, but I never thought that would be the business, yeah. So at that time, I started thinking, what am I going to do? And that's when I started um, something called Croydon Zone. When I used to get it's like a discount club. Yeah, very similar to something called Groupon now that is making lots of money. Lots of people know it.
Yeah.
I was there before Groupon with one difference. I did have the website, but I was really focusing on printed publications, and I was printing. I think it's 10 to 20,000 per month, and distributing it. I used to have stands in the Croydon trams as well. I had 2 for 1 as cinematics, not only on Orange Wednesdays or something. I did for 5 days a week. I had discounts and Nando's. I had so many options. But the point is, until when I done that, I did get some investors from my friends and family, and also a lead investor as well at that time for that business. I am someone that doesn't give up. I'm always looking for a solution. After 2 years, I should have given up, but I kept on going
But
for.
why should you have given up? Because this is, I guess, for those who don't know, Croydon has gone through many ups and downs. So Croydon is a city, well, not officially a city, but it should be a city in the UK,
Yeah.
and it's had many ups and downs. So is this early 90s, late 80s, or late
No,
90s?
it started in 2002.
Ah, okay. So then, yeah,
From 2002 to 2005. Yeah,
okay.
but
So
uh,
why should you have given up then?
yeah, because it wasn't working, and I kept on putting so much energy behind it, and always tried different angles. Then one, I did speak to did manage to get in a meeting with a venture capitalist, and that's when he dawned on me, and he said to me, "It's a great idea, everything's good, but the point is," he said, "you're flogging a dead horse. It is dead." Yeah. When he said that to me, I thought, "Oh, this is." I did stop it at that time, and with a view that one day I'm gonna earn be successful, because that was still the same plan. doing whatever I need to do. And vowed at that time that when I have the money, even though my investors were equity investors, I would pay them back. Yeah. Um, or paid back the family and friends. It took 10 years. Yeah. And then I had the stroke. Yeah. The lead investor, I couldn't pay him back. And after the stroke, everything went horribly wrong.
So
Yeah.
when was the stroke? So you were 32 when you started, and then
2013 was my
right.
stroke. That's 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Incidentally, I've got got a new venture starting very soon. Yeah, and I'm doing an investor event in end of September, and out of all the people are called, including current investors, current landlords, friends, or anyone, the very first call I made was to my first lead investor who lost his money. He lost some money. I lost everything. Yeah. But I gave him a call to say, listen, I need to pay you back. This was only a few weeks ago. Yeah. And he was very happy to receive a call. Yeah. So for that reason, I don't need to give the money back. But for me, he believed in me at the beginning, and I never forgot that. And I'm always thinking about what he done.
So if we take a kind of another step back, during this period, you still had flexi stay, right? So even though you were running the Croydon zone, you were still having flexi stay on the side.
Flexi stay that was running for 3 years with just three apartments. Now my hole was so deep that a normal job would never cut it. Anyway, I went back to my previous company and said, look, I'm looking for a job. And they said, yes, absolutely. I come home and told my wife that I've got the job. She looked at me straight in the eye and she said, if you take that job, you will never be happy.
Yeah.
So for 1 millisecond, then I was happy. Yeah. I had she was behind me. And then after that, I was working every day. Even the last 3 years, I was working all of the God's given hours as well. Then I continued working all God's given hours, unless I'm working or I'm spending time with my family, or it's a Friday night when I go for a drink with my friends. That was my life for many, many years. My wife was doing the cleaning. My mom and wife were doing the laundry, were folding the bed sheets and everything at home. Yeah. So
what did you learn from this experience? I mean, I guess the interesting thing for people listening in would be to say, okay, you work very hard and then you obviously hit that wall with the stroke. So if you take that moment times before you had the stroke and after, what lessons do you take out of that?
Before I had the stroke, I'd made it. Yeah. In my mind, everything was well. I took all people on board. Yeah, had someone else helping run the business as well, and then I had really made it. And then I went on holiday to America. That's when I had the stroke, and even at that time, the business was double the size of what it is today. Yeah.
So what happened as soon as the stroke kicked in? Did the business itself start to, was it in a good position, or was it starting to slide as soon as you took your foot off the pedal?
The business was in a very good position. Yeah. But I don't want to go into this, but there are many people, when you are successful, there's many people want to sort of take a bit of your success, as you were.
Sure.
Well, whether it's people within or external, and in the property industry, there are people that will take advantage, and it was bad. It was very bad for me.
So what
Yeah,
did you learn about that situation? So if you were to go back,
yeah,
and would it be a if you were to go back and try and protect yourself from the vultures, let's call them that, right?
yeah, yeah.
Um, if
That's
we,
exactly.
how would you do that? Like, if you look back and say, what could you have done to prevent that from happening?
Um, that's a very good question. As a person, I've always been so trusting, and for me, when people say something, that's what they do, and they should do it with honor. Yeah. Myself, I will not take any single penny from someone that's not earned properly. Yeah. Unfortunately, whether it's landlords or whether it's other people within the company or whoever it is, if they club together, sometimes it can hurt, especially if you've got something. But what could I have done? That was a question.
Mm.
Um, is I maybe shouldn't have given too much leeway to everyone. But then I think more than that, it's about assessing the right people. I think that's what it is. I need to assess the right people. Right now, I've definitely got the right people, which I didn't have back then.
No,
Don't get me wrong. Lot of the people that were with me, there's a lot of people. Most of them were very, very, very great, good, and honourable, including the landlords. Yeah,
but I mean, I guess this is one of the key things for anyone who's looking to start a business, right? Is to learn how to trust the right people and to give the
yeah,
responsibility to the right people, or at least I would. In many ways, I look at it, and I was having this conversation with someone yesterday. Actually, the way I look at a lot of what we do as an entrepreneur or a business owner is managing risk, right?
yeah,
And your ability to size up risk quickly. So I
yeah,
think we tend to make a lot of decisions, and tend to make a lot of decisions very quickly.
yeah,
And the difference between someone who's doing it well and badly is essentially how well you can calculate and understand risk in that kind of split second. Well, I mean, not split second, but when you're making these quick decisions. So in many ways, you want to be trusting because a lot of that is the ethos of your business, right?
yeah,
If you're not running a business where you're open and trusting and you want to inspire that in others, you don't want to be that person who's
yeah.
a little bit more of a hawk. But then again, people do abuse that. So then it's a question of trying to
But
deal with that, right?
you can never know everyone in detail. You have to just go by your senses, I think.
So when you were, obviously stroke is a big event, and did you kind of have any inkling that you were kind of doing things too much? Or were you just happy in the life? Because it sounded to me that, you're out, you're enjoying family, you're enjoying life, but you're also working 12 hours a day, right? Did you ever have that sense that when you were in it, that it was too much? And then when you came out of the stroke, did you look back and say, well, actually, this wasn't healthy for me? Or did you actually always think that, no, it's not so bad?
No, the stroke was because of high blood pressure, and that's quite silent. You can't detect you got high blood pressure. Um, Now, even back then, same as now, I don't see work as work. I uh, I see work as part of life, and I love it. Yeah. So it's not something that I'll get stressed with or anything like that. I take it all on my shoulders, and I enjoy it. So I don't consider work the way most people would consider work. And if I send emails at 12 o'clock at night, it's not. I don't consider it work. I'm just there. There's my phone, and I just do it. I don't think this is a work time or home time. But that's just me. I understand it might be alien to most people.
Well, I think a lot of people might look at that and say, okay, for me, I think people who own a business will very, very much understand that, the business is always on your mind, right? So it could be 1 o'clock in the morning that you have a sudden idea that you need to go and you have to tell someone straight away, right? But I think people who don't have that in it might look at it and say, well, by you sending out email at 2 o'clock, 12 o'clock in the evening, it puts pressure on the other people, to respond, and it can be a little bit, I don't know, intrusive to those people who aren't in the same situation. But I think it's, it's coming from a good place, obviously, from what
Yeah.
you're saying, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the post-stroke recovery, right? So obviously this takes a while, as you say. You've still got paralysis on the right side of your body. How big an effort was it? Because you kind of, two things are happening at the same time. You don't have to just rehabilitate your body; you have to rehabilitate your business. So how did you find the time to do both, really?
Um, Once I resorted out of the business, that wasn't easy. But once I resorted it, then it was a lot better.
So what
And
steps did you take? What did you do? I mean, don't have to go into huge detail, but what kind of the broad brush things that you did?
one things that we needed to do was because the person at the top of the company, they're the one that really creates the culture of the business. Yeah. And after my stroke, I was not the same person as I was. I would describe a stroke as being, you can see 100% clearly before the stroke, and then after that, it's like not doing the same thing without your glasses, for example. So you don't see the details, but you're still the same person. Yeah. So therefore, the culture of the company changed, and the people around the companies changed. Yeah. And the way things happen has changed. And to reset that culture was actually quite, for me, it was quite difficult.
What would
But
you say the culture was before and after? What was the main difference?
um, before it was a real goal getting mentality. Yeah. After the stroke, it's more like just retaining what we've got, yeah, and keeping things afloat, as you were. And then at the beginning of my stroke, my son, Ricky, who's got a first class degree in finance, he decided to start the company. That was 10 years ago. And he grew as a person himself. And about 3 years ago, he decided he wants to stay with the company and work within the company, And once he made that decision, yeah, then all of a sudden everything changed because he became the natural leader within the company. Yeah. So much so that I really don't need to do hardly anything within the business apart from guidance. And now Ricky and the senior management team that has been with us for between 7 to 14 years, they know everything about the business now. So for me, I'm not really required in the main business anymore.
So before we move on so I know you want to talk about the new business that you're starting, and we'll get onto that. I've got two questions for you before that, though, right?
Yeah.
First question is, and this is based on what you've just said now, for someone to say in a job for 7 to 14 years is fairly unusual nowadays, right? It's one of these things that doesn't occur. So what is it about your working culture that allows for people to kind of stay this long?
I tend to leave them to it. They know what they're doing. Yeah, there's no point in me. You need the right people, but last thing I want to do is tell them what to do and how to do it. Yeah, they've been doing it for a good amount of time. They're all honourable people that I trust them, and I don't ask them what time they start, what time they finish, what days of work or anything like that. They've got a job to do. They do it, and I believe in them. And for that reason, I don't need to worry about it, And they're the managers, and as managers, they look after the people underneath them as well.
So the other question I wanted to ask before we get on to the next bit is that in the trailer you mentioned delegation as one of the things that you're most proud of, right? And I think this is one of the key things that most founders even most managers have a problem with, right? I mean, we're even in Atom ourselves, right? I have to constantly coach people to say you can't micromanage everybody. You have to delegate. You can't do everything, and you can't micromanage everybody. It just doesn't make sense. So, from what's your method of delegation? How do you delegate? Because a lot of people just don't want to let go, right?
Yeah. Um, I know things are gonna problems. I have no problem with people making mistakes and learning from them. Yeah. So for me, it is important that I've made lots of mistakes. Yeah, and sometimes it's quite detrimental. But I would rather they make a mistake than learn from it, or they come back to us to find out how we approach situations in the past. Yeah. So for that reason, sorry, what was the question?
The delegation. So,
Yeah,
what's
yeah.
your methodology for delegation? Like, obviously, like you said, but it makes sense what you're saying now.
But they know what they need to do, so there's no point in delegating to stop them. Sometimes they come up with better solutions than you will come up with, because they live and breathe it. Whereas for myself, I'm a little bit of a dreamer. Yeah, like my son who runs a business, he's a great operational person. Yeah, so therefore he's better at the business, running the business than me, and he is. Yeah, whereas myself, I can run a business, but I'm a dreamer as well. So because I'm a dreamer, I'm always looking at the next thing, and this is what an entrepreneur does anyway. Even when you're sleeping, your mind is always ticking.
Yeah. So let's talk about your next dream. What is this new initiative that you have?
Yeah. Now, for me, it's 22 years ago, give or take a year, I had an extension done on my house. There's a man called Chen. He done it. Yeah. And he done a good job, and he done something I've never seen imagine. He's a bricklayer, has probably done about 2-3 days work, but the bricks weren't completely straight. You have one brick, then the next brick, and then the next brick. The line should be straight. Yeah, I thought that he'd done quite a good job, but he came in. He was angry. He literally kicked down the wall. He said, "Do it again. Make it straight." Yeah, and once I saw that, I knew this is a man of quality. Yeah. And I thought, wow, it's great. And he finished the extension, and he didn't speak English so well at that time, but I was more than impressed with him. I also gave him a lot of recommendations, and he always performed for everyone 100% as a builder. Yeah. So about 15 years ago, I had to do a property in Tooting. Yeah. So I asked him to do it. It's someone else's property. And I said, I will convert your property into a small eight-bedroom hotel with en suites and everything. And I'll manage everything for you via Chen. And if you give me a 3-year lease on it. Yeah, and he done that. Chen done all the work, as always, done an exceptional job. And I've been running it since that, more than 15 years. I've still got it now. Same landlord.
Wow.
He's really happy with everything. So that makes a difference. And then he done another 2 properties for me in Tooting as well, all en suites and for another landlord that's still with me at the moment as well. And then also for me, what he's done also, he done a hotel in Sutton. He increased it by 50%. Extension, loft extension. I told him, can you do that within 6 months? Yeah. So he done it. He actually done it all within 16 months, and it's a amazing high standard job. 2 years ago, we finished building 12 studios for me, because I run service apartments in Norbury. Again, I said to him, this property has to be my pension and my inheritance. So can you make it to that standard of quality? And he didn't fail. He done an absolutely sterling job there. Meanwhile, he also done.
So is he? So obviously you're partnering with him. So what's the new proposition?
So the proposition is, because as a builder, he only likes to do building. He's not interested in politics. He's not interested in talking to people or anything like that. He just likes to build. So therefore, when I done my 12 properties, he'll have 5 or 6 of these properties going on at the same time. So he's quite active. So we got together and we said, okay, we're going to be 50 partners in a company called Oasis CP Projects. Yeah. So then we both put money in, and therefore we are now doing developments. So to let you know, through FlexiState, I've already got about 25 investors that have already invested in me, and they're getting good returns. And that's for Sutton. There's 13 investors for Gatwick. There's 13 investors. They're getting about 18% returns on their investments, which is per year, which is I think quite good. Yeah. And on top of that, the property values is going up as well. And I do all the work, and I get my commission for doing that. And in Reading, we had a lot of problems in Reading, but they're all sorted now. Yeah. And we're making money on the 33-bedroom hotel there. We're doing very well there. And after 5 years, we got planning permission for 26 apartments on the side of 10 apartments. So right now we're building 10 apartments on the side. There's 15 investors, and once it's built, they're going to get good returns as well. So now I'm thinking, I've got a very good reputation for what I do, and people do trust me. Yeah. And in the similar light, Chen himself has got so many people that trust him, because he doesn't do half job, and he's not able to do a bad job. He can only do a good job. That's what he's like. So for that reason, we thought, okay, our ability to build is more than the money we're ever going to have. Yeah. So what we thought is, let's pull things together, the way our existing investors and any new investors can put their money in to what he does for a build, and they can get their shares out accordingly as well. And also, like we've done in Reading, we tried to get a development loan, and I tried to look at all the options, and we got 3 best options. And when you add the interest and the arrangement fee and the exit fee and the brokerage fee,
it's expensive.
And the quantity surveyor's fee, the valuation fee, it's very expensive. So we took the best 3, and then he went to the investor, and they said, what we do, we'll reduce that, whatever the minimum figure, by another £20,000. Yeah. And he's going to give us the money to do the development. Now, we're happy with that. All investors will benefit from that. Yeah. But he's going to get somewhere between around about 11.5% interest. Yeah. For the development, which is still cheaper than doing it for using a broker and institutional lenders. So now what we're doing, we are getting pools of people together. I'm creating the technology around this as well, because I can handle 25 investors, for example, but I can't handle a couple of hundred of them. So if someone wants to invest £1,000 or £1 million, it makes no difference. Everything will get distributed according to the shares they've got. And this, because many people, they know there's money in development. I know there's money. We're going to make money anyway. Yeah. I want to get other people around me, my sister, my brother, my cousins, other people that know us and their contacts. I want not only to grow ourselves, I want other people around us to grow as well. And if you use their money as well, they can, you know. So for me, this is really what I'm.
So how do
In.
people find out more information about this? How will they get more info if they're interested in?
Yeah. We got a website called Oasis CP Projects Limited. So you can find that .co.uk. Right now, we're gonna get an investment day at the moment, and I'm really aiming at people I know or Chen knows, or those people that they recommend someone. That's who we aiming for at the moment. But then, having said that, I am looking to cast the net wider over time. But the website should have information on it. But if someone is interested, they can let us know, and we can. I can speak to them, or we can. They can. Anyone at any time can see our projects, because we're quite proud of that.
Excellent. So I have one more question, which is the last question I tend to ask everybody. If you could go back in time 20 years and give advice to your younger self, what would that advice be?
That's a very, very, very good question. And I tell you, in my opinion, yeah, most people do go about the lives, and they do very, very well in life. Yeah. But if they change their mindset by 1% or less, yeah, their income level will go a skyrocket. And what they need, what I would have liked, I would have certain books that I think are absolutely vital for anyone they should read. One is Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Cash Flow Quadrant. Yeah, it gets out the mentality right. And there's the main one is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and that's got the formula, in my opinion, for being successful. And there's another one called Richest Man in Babylon, and these books I certainly do recommend everyone read, and more than read, absorb. Because if you absorb this information, then you can really increase your life through not only money richness, but in the way you think and the way you portray yourself. So 100% that is what I would read, because the people that write the books have got that experience and knowledge they want to pass down to future generations.
Excellent. Well, Pankaj, it's been very, very interesting talking to you. I think the journey is fascinating, and what you're doing now sounds very, very interesting. And so, what I'll do is make sure that in the show notes, all the links are there. And then, when people read the promotions around this, you'll see the links to you. So, if they want to get in contact with you directly, they can.
Thank you very much, Bhairav. I really appreciate this podcast and the efforts you put in for me as well.